who can step outside of history to control history, to manipulate history. That's what the Übermensch is. Okay? We ourselves are always controlled by social forces, right? We don't want to piss off our classmates. We want to please our teachers and our parents. So therefore, we are slaves to public opinion. But Nietzsche says, to be an Übermensch, you have to ignore public opinion. You have to ignore community consensus and just focus on what is right to you. To look deep into yourself and figure out what is right for you and only you. Okay, that's the Übermensch. And for him, the ideal example, of course, is Napoleon. Okay, and why is this important? Because these ideas, in the context of Weimar Republic, will lead to the rise of the Nazis and Hitler. Okay, because Hitler is promising himself to be the next Napoleon. Right? That's Hitler's promise to the German people. I will be your Napoleon. I will unite you, and I will lead you to victory against all our enemies. Right? Okay. Does that make sense, guys? Are you guys following this? All right. So let's look at a couple of passages from Nietzsche, okay? Nietzsche is a very brilliant philosopher, so he's very complicated, he's very complex, and he can at times be very contradictory, okay? All right. So let's read a passage from the Genealogy of Morals, which is his most famous book. We can no longer conceal from ourselves precisely what this will, under the direction of the ascetic ideal, expresses, which is hatred of anything human, animal, or material, abhorrence of the senses of reason itself, fear of happiness and beauty, the desire to escape from all illusion, change, growth, death, wishing even from desire itself. All this means, let us have the courage to confront it, a wish for oblivion, an aversion to life, a repudiation of everything vital to existence, but it is and remains a will. And to say at the end that which I said at the beginning, men will desire oblivion rather than not desire at all. We are desire, okay? It's really a question of how we manifest our desire. In today's society, in the Christian, Buddhist worldview, it's important to negate our desire. But when we negate our desire, we negate what our desire could lead us to, which is truth and beauty, and creativity and progress and innovation. Okay? And when we negate ourselves, we're not returning back to unity. We are only embracing oblivion. Okay? That's a problem with Christianity. It's turning us into slaves. That's a problem with modernity. That's a problem with society. We are all being forced to become slaves. Okay? Does that make sense? All right, let's go on. To call the taming of an animal improving it sounds to ears almost like a joke. He who knows what goes on in menageries doubts very much whether an animal is improved in such places. It is certainly weakened, it is made less dangerous, and by means of the depressing influence of fear, pain, wounds, and hunger, it is converted into a sick animal, and the same holds good of the tame man whom the priest has improved. Okay, this is a great metaphor. How can we understand the impact of society on people? Well, society is a zoo, okay? We're all cage animals. If you think about it, okay, what is school then? School is a zoo, okay? Before, you were allowed to run around and explore the world and learn things for yourself, right? And as such, you mastered the world around you. You could hunt, you could farm, you could kill people, you could build alliances, you could write plays. But in school, what do we ask you to do? We ask you to come to school, we ask you to come to class on time, take notes, take tests, and then we give you a piece of paper, right? We turn you into cage animals. So you lose the capacity to think for yourself, right? That's what school is. So there's nothing wrong with what Nietzsche is saying, okay? This is a brilliant metaphor to capture the essence of modernity, okay? Society, education, it's all meant to degrade your capacity to think for yourself in order to make you more obedient to power, okay? All right, so if you take Schopenhauer, Wagner, and Nietzsche together and you combine them, what you get is a rejection of Christianity and a return to paganism. Okay? So let's look at the differences. In the Christian worldview, there is a God. If there's a God, there is a framework of good and evil. So you must do good and you must avoid evil, okay? But in the pagan worldview, there is no God. There's many gods, but the gods themselves have no power over fate. And as a result, it is up to you to define good and evil. It's up to you to act and to find meaning in the world. Okay? So going back to school, the metaphor, right? Today we have grades, and therefore you're focused on getting grades. But if we had no grades, we have no teachers, then you have to go learn for yourself. You would have to go figure out your own education. What's amazing about this idea is you would want to, because Nietzsche says we are first and foremost desire. We desire to grow. So if we left you alone and said, no grades, no school, no tests, it does not mean that you will stop learning. It just means that you will learn what you want to learn. Okay? All right, second difference. Christianity demands faith, obedience to God. Paganism demands action. Okay? You seek meaning for yourself through action. The last difference is Christianity focuses on individual free will. Okay? Which just means you are free to obey the powerful. But in the pagan mindset, it's about unity of will. Okay? If we want to act, we can only do so by working together. All right? We will find a leader to lead us, but the leader only represents the unity of will. Okay? Does that make sense? So during the Weimar Republic, with the rise of Nazism, you now have a rejection of Christianity and a return to paganism as a solution to the national humiliation of Germany. All right? And this is what leads to the rise of Adolf Hitler. Okay? This man is Paul von Hindenburg, the same man who ordered the surrender of Germany. In 1933, he is president of Germany, the leader, and he appoints Adolf Hitler, the chancellor of Germany. Okay? The question then is, why would he do that? Right? Yeah, I mean, like, why would the head of the army, the head of the nation, make Adolf Hitler chancellor? And the reason is this. Adolf Hitler was a German spy. He was He was a spy for the German army. Okay? This is really important. Let me explain this. This is from Wikipedia, guys, okay? So I'm not making this up. It says very clearly, as an intelligence agent of the army, Hitler's job was to influence other soldiers and to infiltrate the German Workers' Party, okay? The Nazi Party, National Socialists. Okay, so why is this happening? So remember, the German army surrendered because they were afraid of revolution back at home. Who was leading the revolution? The extreme left and extreme right. Okay? What's the difference between extreme left and extreme right? Both are populists. They all believe in workers' rights. The left believe in international solidarity. Okay? Specifically with Russia, the Soviet Union, and other workers in the world. The right are nationalists. They believe in German unity. Okay? So the army is like, okay, right now the most powerful group in Germany are the socialists. Right? The left. We need to support the right. So Hitler goes into the Nazi Party, the German Workers' Party, and he helps to finance it, okay? Hitler is giving money to these guys. And because he's such a charismatic speaker, he eventually becomes their leader. But at this point in history, okay, this is really important, this is a really small group of people. They're extreme, they're violent, but they are a minority. The majority are the socialists, okay? This is something that you're not taught in school. But this is very important to remember. It is the army that finances the building of the Nazi Party in order to dampen the influence of the socialists. Okay, because remember, the army now is still dedicated to avenging the national humiliation of World War I. Okay? All right. So this is Carroll Quigley, and he wrote a long book called Tragedy and Hope. Okay? And he explains Carroll Quigley, he is a professor. He was a professor at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. He was Bill Clinton's teacher. Okay? He was Bill Clinton's teacher, and he's a widely respected scholar. And in his book, he explains how Hitler was able to rise and take over the leadership of Germany. He explains at this point in history that Germany is threatened by two opposing forces. The first force, of course, is communism. Right? The Soviet Union. That's a huge menace to Germany. But another menace that's even more menacing is capitalism. Okay? Because at this point in history, what's happening is the international capitalists are trying to create a central banking system in order to control the entire global economy. Okay? And he writes about this. This is 1920s. The powers of financial capitalism had another far-reaching aim. nothing less than to create a world system of financial control in private hands, able to dominate the political system of each country and the economy of the world as a whole. Okay? This is really important to understand. 1920s, all these bankers in the world, America, Britain, France, Germany, they're getting together and they're conspiring on how to create a global financial system that can control the world and create a feudal system. Right? And guess what, guys? You don't know this, but they succeeded. The system we have today is the one they created. Okay? But I will explain this later on in the course. Okay? But this is something that the Germans, nationalists like Hitler, didn't want. Okay. So, Hitler, he's allowed to rise. And the Nazi Party is becoming more and more popular. But again, even though they are popular, they're not as popular as the socialists. Okay? So what happens now is the army and the Nazi Party get together and assume power. Okay? So the first step for Hitler, in order to assume power, is something called the Night of the Long Knives. Okay? This is really important because the Nazi Party is an extreme right-wing workers' party, right? So the army orders Hitler to kill all their leaders. And that's what happened. This is called the Night of the Long Knives. So the brown shirts, the extreme right wing, was eliminated by the army and the Nazi Party. And now so now the Nazi Party and the army are now symbiotic. Okay, they're relying on each other. From now on, the Nazi Party will ensure total unity of will at home through suppression of people. Okay, and the army will now go march and conquer the world. Does that make sense, guys? That's the plan. All right. So Adolf Hitler is the perfect man for the job assigned him by the army because he is a fantastic speaker. Okay, he's the job assigned him by the army because he is a fantastic speaker. We're going to listen to his voice. So you're going to listen to his voice. So you can appreciate how powerful his speech is. His voice is.
Dass ich Fleisch für richtig bin, dass ich gearbeitet habe, dass ich Fleisch in diesem bin, dass ich gearbeitet habe, dass ich in diesem Jahr meine Zeit verwendet habe, im Dienste meines Volkes, meine Zeit verwendet habe, im Dienste meines Volkes.
What his speeches do is they create unity of will in Germany. Okay? Again, the goal is to rejuvenate the nation. Again, the goal is to reunite the German people. And reunite the German people. And so the unity of will creates the idea of secrecy. And so remember, secrecy is a secret idea of secrecy. Secrecy is the secret organization and mobilization of your people into organization and mobilization. And this is represented by the picture. You can get people to stand in line for a long time. And this is represented by the picture. You can get people to stand in line for a long time. And the people and the nations that are really strong at secrecy, and the people and the nations that are really strong at secrecy, go to Germany, go on the subway. Go to Japan, go to Germany. No one is struggling against each other. Okay, no one's pushing. No one. Everyone, even though it's crowded, people are standing exactly where they should be standing. Even though it's crowded, people are standing exactly where they should be standing. If your people can do that, they can fight a war and win the war. If your people can do that, they can fight a war. This idea of unity of will. Okay, all right. So this idea of unity of will. All right. They can stand in line for a long, long time. They can stand in line for a long, long time. All right. So we're going to look at some speeches from Hitler. All right. From Hitler, so we're going to look at some speeches from his speeches. He's trying to create, and we can see from his speeches, he's trying to be the Superman who will unite his people like Napoleon and carry them to victory. Will unite his people like Napoleon in themselves, carry them to victory. The unity of will. Through faith in themselves. If man wishes to live, then they are forced to kill others. If man wishes to live, then they are forced to kill other means of existence, which in turn results in elimination of others from the same sources of substance. As long as there are peoples on this earth, there will be nations against nations on this earth. There will be nations against nations, and they will be individuals protect their vital rights in the same way as the hammer or the anvil. We confess that it is our purpose to prepare the German people. Again, we confess that it is our purpose to prepare the German people. Again, we must unite as a people. We must have unity of will. We must unite as a triumph against our enemies. We must have unity of will. Nothing is possible unless one will commands. All right. A will which has to be obeyed unless one will commands. A will which has to be obeyed by others. Beginning of the expression of an authoritarian state. Not of a weak battling democracy of an authoritarian state. Not of a weak battling democracy of an authoritarian state. I will likewise be obeyed when I must command. I will likewise be obeyed when I must command. Being a dictator. He is trying
Hitler
to create
is
unity of
not
will.
being a dictator.
He is the leader.
Trying
He's
to create
the
unity
Uberman
of will.
But that's only
He
because
is the leader.
God
He's the
demanded
Uberman.
him to be so.
But that's only because
he will
God
unite
demanded
the
him to be so.
German people into a hurricane.
He will
into an
unite
ocean,
to crash
German people
itself
into a
upon
hurricane, into
the
an
world.
ocean, to crash itself upon the world.
In the course of my life, I have very often been a prophet.
And
in the
I
course
have
of my
usually
life,
been
I have very
ridiculed
often
for
been a
it.
prophet.
During the time of my struggle
and I
of power,
have usually
it
been
was the
ridiculed
first
for it.
instance.
During
The
the time of
Jewish
my
race,
struggle of
which only
power,
received
it
my
was the
prophecies
first instance.
with laughter.
The Jewish race
They said
which
that
only
I would
received
one
my
day take
prophecies
over
with
the leadership
laughter.
of the state.
They said that
and
I
with it,
would one
that of
day
the whole
take
nation,
over
the leadership
and
of
that
the
I
state.
would then,
and
among
with it,
many
that
other
of the
things,
whole
settle the
nation,
Jewish
and that
problem.
I would then,
Their
among many
laughter
other
was
things,
uproarious,
settle the
but I
Jewish
think that for
problem.
some time,
Their
now
laughter
they
was
have been
uproarious,
laughing
but I
on the
think
other
that for
side
some
of their
time,
face. Now they
today I
have
will
been
once
laughing
more
on
be a
the other
prophet.
side of
The
their
national
face.
Jewish
Today I
financiers
will
in
once
and
more
outside
be a
Europe
prophet.
should
The
succeed in
national
plunging
Jewish
the
financiers
nations
in
in
and
and
outside
outside Europe
Europe
should
war,
succeed in
then the
plunging
result
the
will not be the
nations once more
Bolshevization
into a
of the
world
earth,
war,
and thus the
then the
victory of
result will
Jewry,
not be the
the annihilation
Bolshevization
of the Jewish
and thus
race
the victory of
in
Jewry,
Europe. Okay?
the annihilation of
So
the Jewish race
we don't actually have any
in
concrete
Europe.
evidence.
Okay?
So we don't actually have
the
any
Holocaust.
concrete evidence.
Okay? So
For
one piece of evidence for the Holocaust
okay?
is so
this
one piece of
speech
evidence for the
by
Holocaust
Hitler.
is
But I want to
this
explain
speech
what he is
by
saying
Hitler.
Okay?
But I want
what he's
to
saying
explain
is
what
we
he
the
is
German
saying
nation.
here. Okay?
What he's saying is
we want to be
the
united.
German nation
We want to be
left alone.
Unified.
We want to be united.
We want
But
to be
the capitalists
unified.
and the communists all
the
seek to
capitalists
undermine us.
and
who
the
are the communists?
communists
And who are the
all seek to
capitalists?
undermine
the
us.
Jews. And who are the communists? And who are the
Okay?
capitalists? It's the Jews who are a metaphor for
It's the Jews who are a metaphor
elite group of individuals who are conspiring to undermine the
elite group of
vitality and the strength
individuals
of the German
conspiring
nation.
to undermine
Right, so
the
that's what he's
vitality and the strength
Alright.
of the German nation.
Right, so that's what he's saying.
1939,
Alright.
September 1st is the
Beginning of World
1939,
War
September
II, okay?
1st is the
And
beginning
so
of World War
he's going
II.
to explain
okay?
why this is happening.
And
as
so
a National Socialist,
he's going to
and
explain
as a German
why
soldier,
this is
I entered
happening.
upon the struggle
As a National
with
Socialist
restored
and
heart.
as a German
My
soldier,
whole
I entered
life
upon
has
the
been
struggle
nothing but one struggle
restored
for
heart.
my people,
My
for its
whole life
restoration
has
and
been
for
nothing
Germany.
but one struggle
There was only one
for my
watchword
people,
for its restoration and for Germany.
people.
There was only one watchword
that is
for that struggle,
surrender.
bigger
Okay?
than this people.
So he's telling the
one word I've
people,
never learned,
we're going
that
to
is
fight this war
surrender,
again.
Okay?
Why
so
did
he's
we
telling the
lose
people,
World
we're going to
War
fight this war
I?
again because we didn't have
Why
faith.
did we
We
lose
surrendered.
World War I?
Because we,
If we all came together and we fought to the
very better end, we would
all
prevail
came together and we
against
fought to
our
the very
enemies,
better end,
okay? we would prevail.
It is quite
against our
unimportant
enemies,
whether we ourselves live, but it's essential
It is
that
quite
people shall
unimportant
live,
whether we
that
ourselves
Germany
live,
shall
but it's
live.
essential
The sacrifice that is
people shall
demanded
live,
of
that
us is
Germany
not
shall
greater than the
live.
sacrifice
The sacrifice that is demanded
of us
if
is
we
not
form a
greater than
community
the
closely
sacrifice
bound
that
together
many
by
generations have
vows,
made.
ready for
If we
anything,
form a community
resolved
closely
never to
bound together
surrender,
by
and our
vows,
will will
ready
master
for
every
anything,
hardship and
resolved never to
difficulties, okay?
surrender,
It is
and
the
our will
unity
will
of
master
will
every hardship and
that
difficulties,
matters.
okay?
It is the
All right.
unity of will
1942,
that
November
matters.
8th.
It's
All right.
basically
1942, November 8th.
at a time in history when
It's
the
basically
Germans understand they've lost
at
the
a
war.
time in
The
history
Americans are
when
now
the
in
Germans are now
understand
in the war.
the Americans are getting
The
ready to
Americans
invade
are now
Europe.
in now in the war.
German
The Americans are getting
invasion
ready to
of the
invade
Soviet
Europe.
Union has failed. Okay?
The German
They're bogged down
invasion
in
of the Soviet Union
has failed. Okay?
Germany is
they're bogged down, in the Soviet
overstretched.
Union.
Germany is
The entire world has
overstretched.
itself against Germany. Okay, so
The entire world
is
has
thought to be
allied
lost.
itself
against
let's
Germany.
look-
Okay,
let's
so
look
the
at
war
what
is
Hitler has
thought
to
to be
say.
lost.
But it's with the same conviction that I now
look at
stand
what
before
Hitler has to
you
say.
and has never left me.
It is with the same
Either
conviction
since
that I
the
now
day
stand
on
before
which,
you
as an
and has
unknown
never
man in the
left me.
city, I
Either
began the
since the
struggle
day on
first with
which,
souls
as
of
an
German
unknown
people,
man in the
and then on
city,
beyond the
I began the
city
struggle
for
first
more
with
and
souls
more
of German
followers.
people,
And
in the
then on
beginning,
beyond
I
the
did
city
not have much
for
more
more
to
and
give
more
than
followers.
faith.
The
In the
faith
beginning,
that
I
if
did
anyone
not have
pursues
much
a
more
just
to
aim,
give than
I will
faith.
unchanging,
The faith that if
and
anyone
understood
pursues
loyalty
a
and
just
never lets
aim,
himself
I
be
will
diverted from
unchanging,
it,
but
but
puts
puts
everything
loyalty and
into
never
it,
lets
and
himself
others
be
will be
diverted
found
from
who are
it,
determined
but puts
to be his
everything
followers
into it,
and that from
and
this
others will
host
be
and
found
ever
who are
stronger
determined
faith
to be his
must gradually
followers,
radiate to
and
the
that from this
whole
host and ever
people.
stronger faith
Okay.
must gradually radiate
So,
to the whole
this is unity of
people.
will. Okay.
We reject
So,
reality.
This is unity of will.
Reality does not matter.
We
because we
reject
impose
reality.
our will
Reality does not
on reality.
matter. As long as
Because
we have faith,
impose our
as long as
will
we have unity of will,
on reality.
we will
As long as we have
triumph.
faith,
Okay? As long as we have unity of will,
All right.
we will triumph. Okay?
All right.